Claer Barrett is here. It's all a bit serious, actually, Claire, isn't it? Because there is news this morning, inflation rates have increased. So it's going to be a big week for energy, isn't it?
It is, and frankly, we need the dancing dogs, I think,
do.
to give us a bit of cheer, because prices are starting to turn. We're seeing rises this morning, as you said, and also it's feared that energy bills will be next. So we have this thing called the price cap. Every quarter it's tested, and it's predicted that when we get the latest figures next Tuesday for April's bills, it's going to go up by 5%. We'll find out for sure on Tuesday, but the actual figure, it looks like the average household dual fuel bill is going to rise by 5%, about 85 quid more expensive over the course of a year, £1,800 for the average household on a dual fuel bill, which, let's face it, is the last thing that many households need, particularly as energy debt is at an absolute record high at the moment. We've had a colder winter than expected before these price rises come in, and obviously we've had no government help for most people this winter. The winter fuel payment for pensioners has been massively scaled back. £3.7 billion, Christine, is owed by UK households. At the moment, the average customer who's in debt, and they reckon it's around 4% of customers have got outstanding debts to their energy company, average customer owes around £1,500. So that's nearly the equivalent of an annual bill, because these debts have been building up over such a long time. So a really critical time for people who are looking at bills rising and thinking, crikey, the pips are squeaking.
What are you supposed to do if you're in that position? And is there anything that we can all do at this stage now to try and just to help ourselves in some way going forward if these prices like hike up in April and it's just another big bill coming our way?
Absolutely. And like, if you are one of the millions of people who is struggling with energy debt, the thing you really need to do, which is counterintuitive, is speak to your supplier. Now, I know it's the last thing that people want to do, but suppliers can offer help in many ways. They might be able to get you a grant to pay off some of your bills, depending on your circumstances. They also might be able to move you to a cheaper tariff with them, because the obvious answer for people who aren't in energy debt is, well, switch your tariff, switch provider. It's harder to do if you have got unpaid debts. So if you're not indebted, then definitely look at whether you could switch and lock into a cheaper deal, because there are around 26 million households whose tariffs are linked to the price cap. So if you do nothing at all, and those predictions are right, then your annual bills will rise by about 85% from April and could potentially rise again in July. So you could lock into a fixed rate. There's lots of tempting deals on offer at the moment that are below the level of the January price cap, let alone the April price cap, which is predicted to be higher. I've had a look on all the switching websites this morning, and the deals are changing all the time, but top of the table are suppliers like Outfox the Market. They're saying that they could save people over £200 a year on their bills on a variety of tariffs from 1 year to 2 years if you're locking into a fixed rate. Obviously, it's a bit of a gamble because you don't know whether the price cap is going to go up or down within that period. So Energy and Octopus, they're also near the top of the switching tables. But then there's also a third option. You could go for a tracker tariff. Now, EDF is one of the suppliers that's offering this, the Simply Tracker Extra tariff. It's guaranteed to be £100 less than the price cap over the next 12 months, but you can only switch to that using two comparison websites, Uswitch and Confused.com. And with a lot of these deals, bear in mind that there's an exit fee if you do want to move away. In the case of that last one, £25.
Okay, as you say, you have to be active though. You've got to be sort of on it to know.
You do, but you've got me to tell you how to do it.
And thankfully we do, Claire, because it can be confusing. But what about our pensioners? Is there any more support at all for any of our pensioners that are struggling?
Well, talk about support second, but first, protest. Now, the charity Age UK, they're a fantastic charity. They went to Downing Street yesterday with a petition that over 650,000 people had signed in protest against the withdrawal of the winter fuel allowance from around 10 million pensioners for this winter. Now, they claim, but based on their own research, that 9 million pensioners have told them they were cold in their homes this January because that, little extra of a few £100s was enough to make them think, well, we need to switch the heating off because we don't want to be in debt. And of course, it might be saving the government money, but could it be costing the NHS more money in future as people get ill from not being in a home that's heated enough? So a couple of things to mention. Pension credit is the obvious one. It's the only way that you can qualify for the winter fuel allowance now, although this winter's deadline has passed, but around 800,000 households should be getting pension credit but aren't. There's a checker on the gov.uk website to see if you are. And then also, I really wanted to mention a charity called Fuel Bank. Fuel Bank, they're like a food bank, but for fuel, and they exist to help customers on prepayment meters who've run out of credit and are literally left sitting in the dark. Now, this winter, they've helped over 250,000 people who've just run out of power, and around 40% of them are like critically dependent on energy, either because they've got a disability, somebody who's very old, somebody who's very young in the house. So, I mean, frankly, I find it shocking that we're relying on people's generosity and donations to keep the lights on for some of the poorest people in the country. But Fuel Bank, they are a fantastic charity. If you need their help, then do have a look into where they're centres.
There's good people out there still, isn't there, Claire, in spite of all of this? Although there are a lot of scammers, isn't there? And when we talk about energy kind of bills or trying to save money, there's always someone else trying to profit from that.
The scammers, they're always up with the trends.
Always. And they're ahead of us.
They're ahead of us. They know that lots of people are worrying about energy bills. So Which, the consumer groups, put out a scam warning about an email about a fake energy support scheme scam. Now, it looks like some of the official government ones that were being sent out in COVID times, but it's not real. It's saying you're eligible to receive a £400 discount under the energy bill support scheme. No such thing exists. What the scammers want you to do is enter all of your personal details, your bank details, and then they've phished those, phishing with a PH it's called, and then they could use all of that data to try and defraud you at a later date. So watch out for that.
Watch out, absolutely. This is an interesting one. It's something I sort of try to remember to do every so often. The various subscriptions that we've got on our phone. It could be some app that you've downloaded 4 years ago and you've completely forgotten about it,
well, have you
but
heard
you're still paying for it.
The subscription economy. This is something that people talk about now because there are so many things that we subscribe to. Now, one survey said the average consumer in Britain spends nearly £700 a year on subscriptions. And I thought, well, that can't be true. But if you think about it, streaming services, apps, software, lots of these digital ones, magazines and newspapers, music, audiobooks, the list goes on and on. So my advice is go through your credit card statements and your bank statements, see what you've got, do a subscription audit, but also don't forget the App Store on your phone. Now, they are all in there. You have to dig a bit to find it. And you can cancel things before they run out, because it's often the cost on renewal that really takes people by surprise. Evaluate the usage of your subscriptions, especially with these streaming services. It's easy to turn them off for a month and then turn them back on again. You can reactivate, be strategic about what you watch, and then also adjust your plans. Now, with Netflix, something that most of us have, the difference between the basic package and the ad-free package is £7 a month. So if you can put up with the inconvenience of having to watch a few extra adverts and switch plans, that could save you £84 a year. It really racks up.
Of course it does, those little things. And for any parent for half term this week, when their children get their phone and they're trying to download certain things, and I just say no, they can cost like 50, 60 quid a year for
gaming,
drawing app or whatever it is. It's just being aware of it.
It's really easy to see how it could get to £607 a year.
Yeah, okay.
Ready to boost your savings, grow your pension pot and make every penny count? Well, we've got loads of Money Clinic videos right here on the channel. Check out this one for even more expert advice.